Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by CJ Vogel. The reconstruction of the Texas running back room is underway. We'll get to that here in just a second. But first, I want to thank our sponsor for this edition of On Texas Football, and that's our friends over at Hayes City Store. You know, there are very few restaurants that when you go to them once, you know right away it's a special place, and Hayes City Store is one of those places. Scratch-made Texas comfort food is what they're all about. They've got their famous truck stop enchiladas, the award-winning chicken fried steak, the homemade desserts. It's all good, and it's all made from scratch. They've also got live music 6 nights a week, 50 beer taps, ice cold long necks, and tasty margaritas. There are 13 TVs in their ice house, makes it the perfect game day setup. And if you happen to be out there on Sunday, they've got that brunch menu every Sunday from 10 to 3. Hayes City Store is dog friendly. They've got a tree net for the kids. So gather up your whole crew, head on out to Hayes City Store for more information. Check out the website at hayescitystortx.com. Hayes City Store, it's uniquely Texas. CJ Baxter is headed to the transfer portal. CJ, that news broke early Monday morning, and I don't think this is a surprise. Probably shouldn't be. We've talked a lot about it here on the channel. CJ, just a really unfortunate career arc for him, and maybe just a fresh start somewhere else will be the best thing for his career.
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, you know, when you look back at what his career was at Texas now, he'll kind of be remembered. He'll go into that, you know, that category of just what could have been. And there's been a lot of those what could have beens at Texas over the last 20 years, right? I think Jonathan Gray as well. And, you know, I think, unfortunately, injuries just derailed what could have been a fantastic career for a fantastic player, person, and talent on the 40 acres. And that's really unfortunate. But for CJ Baxter, it was pretty clear, right? You know, he only had 2 games where he saw double-digit rushing attempts this season in 2025. And both of those games, week 1 and week 2. Obviously, first play of week 3, he gets dinged up with a hamstring, and, you know, he was, you know, basically just kind of a passenger for the Texas offense for the duration of the season. And again, that's very unfortunate. But that big knee injury at the beginning of 2024 fall camp, you know, that was basically the end all be all for what his time in Texas will be remembered for, Jeff.
You mentioned what could have been the first guy that came to my mind when you talk about CJ Baxter was Chris Warren, just because I think of a bigger back with the tools to take his career probably as far as he wants to. And there were times where his body just did not let him. So, you know, CJ, there were a lot of things that the staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they miscalculated from a personnel standpoint. In hindsight, and again, it doesn't do any good to really think about it out loud, but we'll do it for this exercise. I mean, if they had to do it over, they probably might have gone to the portal to get a running back and maybe not have tried to put – and I'm not saying they mishandled CJ Baxter's injury status. It just seemed like CJ – it hasn't been like this staff to put all their eggs in one basket. And when CJ had the hamstring injury, they just didn't have anywhere to go at that point.
Yeah, and, you know, to your point, hindsight is 2020. You feel like maybe one of your younger backs would take that leap, obviously, and then Jared Gibson opts the portal, and that was really your other next option. You know, you didn't really have any rushing attempts or experience with the James Simon or Christian Clark, and, you know, even then Christian Clark's coming off of an injury of his own. It was really the straw that broke the camel's back in my eyes was Jared Gibson saying, hey, I'm headed to the portal mid-season, right? And so for Baxter to miss extended time due to a hamstring now you're really behind the 8 ball at the running back position. And, you know, Trey Wisner, we talk about him pretty often. He's a warrior, man. He's going to go to war. But that's a tough position to be in when you're basically the lone back that they trust in the backfield. And I think the staff's going to correct that pretty significantly this offseason as well, Jeff. But for CJ Baxter and, you know, just kind of the difference in what we saw, again, let's go back a little bit because I think folks kind of misconstrue the ability to handle the running back position with misses in the running back recruiting world. CJ Baxter was a 5-star kid. He beat Jonathan Brooks out as a true freshman for the first snaps in the 2023 season, right? Let's not forget that. Very talented football player. That was a big win at the time. It still reigns true today because that helped Texas create more of a foothold in the state of Florida in recruiting as well. But that's something that will always sit with me is Jonathan Brooks became the first running back off the board in 2024, and true freshman beat him out of camp.
Nick Saban said, you know, in 2024 that his last year at Alabama, CJ Baxter was the most talented back they saw all year. So I think that says a mouthful about his talent level. But CJ, we opened this talking about the reconstruction of the running back room. And you think about it, when the season started, 6 scholarship running backs this program had. And We'll see what Trey Wisner decides to do as far as, does he go to the NFL? Does he come back for a year? CJ Baxter's hitting the portal. Jarrett Gibson has long been planning to enter the portal. Ricky Stewart's no longer with the team. We'll see what Christian Clark's future holds. CJ, we may get to this team coming back for the spring semester in January. James Simon may be the only one of those 6 still on the roster. I know that's hard to fathom, but that's a very realistic possibility at this point.
Yeah, and it's very clear why Texas for an entire cycle told Derek Cooper, hey, you're the only guy that we want. You're going to be the only back in this class. And then after seeing how some of the dominoes fell, they said, wait a minute, Derek, I hope you're okay with it, but we need just anybody for the numbers perspective. And enter Jet Walker, another very talented, big body back. But you're right, Jeff. It's going to be really interesting because I do think that there are some questions right now with the future of Christian Clark. What does he do, right? Another guy that coming off the Achilles injury. We only saw him a couple times in the non-conference early on. And look, by now in year 2, you've been around the program for a little bit. I know that you've been sidelined for a while, but you normally see these guys on the field when the staff truly trusts guys. And running back's a difficult spot, right? We look back at Jarrett Gibson towards the back end of his freshman year as well. And that typically lends to me thinking Texas will be moving on. What's that conversation going to look like? I don't know just yet. And then ultimately that decision from Trey Wisner about whether or not he goes off to the NFL or returns for a senior season, this running back room could look drastically different in 2026.
And what compounds it for a guy like Christian Clark is up until this year, you could say, hey, I'll go through spring ball, see where I am at the end of spring, and then I'll hit the portal after spring ball. You don't have that option now with the elimination of the spring portal window, CJ. So these guys, you really have to make a calculated risk and make a decision that, hey, it's kind of a roll of the dice on your future, whether to stay or go. So I don't envy the position Christian Clark there's plenty of guys in his spot up and down this roster, CJ, where it would benefit them to go through spring ball and then assess from there, but they don't have that luxury right now.
Yeah, and that's kind of the new world of the portal. It feels like every year, Jeff, we sit up here and we say what we know about the portal, and then 3 months later, what thing that we knew has changed dramatically. And yeah, I do think this is a player that would have greatly benefited from seeing where he would have stacked up against some of the freshmen or what Texas would have brought in out of the portal in the spring, but you might not get that luxury. And do you want to sit behind 4 or 5 other guys again? I don't know. So we'll see what that entails. Obviously we could be proven wrong here pretty quickly. But right now it feels like that running back room is going to look entirely different next year.
No doubt. I love that between Derek Cooper and Jet Walker, Texas went out and got 2 big downhill, nasty running backs. And it seems like Steve Sarkisian is taking the point of view, CJ, look, if we're going to get this running game back on track, I got to have guys that can thump between the tackles, be pile movers, and can maximize runs. So with that in mind, do you want to see Texas add a specific kind of back out of the portal, or is it, hey, best running back available that's willing to come here and compete, you'll take him?
Yeah, I've long debated this because I feel like you need to have, kind of a Roschon Johnson level running back and then kind of a Jaden Blue level running back, someone that fits both sides of the spectrums. Obviously, you'd like to split the middle and find yourself a Bijan Robinson or a Jonathan Brooks, but those are very difficult to come by. We'll see what the portal has to offer up as well. But more than anything, you've got to find somebody with size. And that's where Texas over the last 2 years, just quite frankly, they didn't have any size at the running back position. And right now, I know Derek Cooper's coming in, Jet Walker's coming in. They're both 6'1", 215. They'll carry 225 by the end of their days at Texas. But you need a guy that can get you that 1 yard when the guys up front don't allow you to just walk through to the end zone, right? So someone with the size, someone with some muscle on them, that's what I'm looking for right now, Jeff.
Yeah, and CJ, with the we know there is going to be roster turnover on the offensive line because as it stands right now, you're going to have to completely remake your interior.
Yes.
Trevor Goosby has an NFL decision to make. So CJ, if Sark and company, if they play their cards right, they could completely revamp this running game for the better and leave a pretty forgettable year running the ball in 2025. Leave that in the dust.
Yeah, look, I think every Texas fan watching and listening at home is probably thinking, please God, right? Because, it's been a frustrating, really, I'll say year and a half, because that back end of the 2024 season as well, it was a coin flip. You're either running for 200 or you're running for about as many yards that you had rushing attempts for. And that's not what you need or what you can have to succeed in this conference. So for Texas, I think a total revamping of the running game in its entirety is a great thing, Jeff.
A lot more feast, a lot less famine for the run game is what I'd like to see in 2026. CJ, thank you for the knowledge and expertise as always. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it. Thank you to our friends over at Hayes City Store for sponsoring it. If you're not a member, over at ontexasfootball.com, that's all right. You can get over to the site right now and sign up using the promo code OTFOG, and that'll get you 1 year of access at ontexasfootball.com for just $39.95. Make sure that you like this video and that you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel. That way, whether it's here on the channel or on the site, you're not missing any of our coverage all year round, including our up-to-the-minute coverage of the transfer portal. For CJ, for Matthew, for the entire On Texas Football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and until next time, welcome.